Hello, my name's Austin Jarrett from Allett Mowers. Today I want to talk to you about backlapping of cylinder mowers. The Allett homeowner range of mowers have interchangeable cartridges, so that is the Classic, the Sandringham and the Kensington range. All have cartridges like this which can be removed from the mower, and that's really useful from a maintenance point of view. Now, a cylinder mower cuts grass by cutting between two metal surfaces. We have the bottom blade and then we have the blades on the cylinder. And sometimes due to damage or through to wear, the grass plant eroding the metal away over time, you'll find that the mower doesn't cut quite as sharply as you would like. And one way of doing this in season, when you haven't got time to get the cylinder ground properly by one of our service dealers, you can use a technique called backlapping. This is a cylinder out of a 17-inch mower, and when I do the paper test, I've just got folded double paper here, and I go to cut this, I'm cutting quite cleanly in the middle, but I think no matter how I adjust this mower, I can't quite get it to cut the paper cleanly on this side, and here I am getting some sort of cut, but it's not as good as it is in the middle. So what I want to do is, as the cylinder turns in this direction, I need to put a sharp edge on both the leading edge of the cylinder and also the top edge of the bottom blade. The things I'm going to need to do the backlapping are an electric drill with a reverse drive, a short extension, 1/2 inch, and a 24mm socket. This 24mm socket fits very neatly onto the sprocket at the end just here. I'll need a screwdriver because I will need to adjust the cylinder as I'm applying the grinding paste. I'll need a longest handle brush that I can get. This is an 1.5 inch brush, which is just absolutely ideal, and I'm going to use this to apply the grinding paste. I need the grinding paste, and this is quite a large tub. You don't need to have anything quite as big as this. We're not going to use anywhere near this amount of material. And I'm just going to use this on my brush, and I'm going to apply this to the cylinder. I'm going to be turning the cylinder in reverse, and that way the trailing edge of the blade combined with the grinding paste will put a sharper edge onto the edges that I need, so that I'm going to cut my grass cleanly. You also need a hose pipe, because before this grinding paste dries, it's like a gel almost at the moment, before it dries I'll need to have a hose pipe just to wash that grinding paste off. If I don't do that, then when I'm using the mower it will continue to grind the blades, and I don't want it to do that. So make sure you've got your electric drill in reverse drive. So I want to turn the cylinder so that it turns in this direction, so the blades are coming away from the bottom blade. So I'll just double check that, and that's the direction. I need to turn it slowly, and of course you do need to be really careful. This is not something you want to do with kids around. I'm going to take the backlapping paste, just put a small amount onto the brush, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to brush this on, apply this, and you'll hear the change in the sound as the grinding paste starts to work between the two surfaces. So as I feel that grinding paste now is starting to shine up the surfaces, and I can see where it's having an effect right on the very edges, I now need to start adjusting my cylinder down to my bottom blade. So that's where I need to have the screwdriver, and all I'm going to do is just apply a click at a time to tighten the cylinder down to the bottom blade, and so it will start to apply more pressure between the grinding paste and the two surfaces, and then I'll carry on again. So this is about the last turn. I've done about 3 turns on this, 3 notches on the adjustment for the cylinder to the bottom blade, and so this is my final one now. I can feel, I'll take that off, I can feel my edge here is now getting sharper, squarer. It doesn't become sharp like a knife, remember, it's a guillotine type cut. And this final one I'm going to do, I'm just going to paste the material on until it starts off quite noisy as it's grinding more material off, and then it gets quieter and quieter. And then once I've done that, I'm going to wash off all the grinding paste with the hose, and then we'll give it the paper test again. So here we go with the last adjustment. So now I'm happy that those surfaces are nice and square and ground and fresh. So now I need to wash off all the grinding paste. So I've got my hose here, and I'm going to hose that off as best as I can. I'm probably going to just spin that cylinder as well, just to make sure all the material's off all the way round. So now I've washed off all the material, I need to just double check. The edges are all looking beautiful and sharp here. I don't want to take off too much material, remember, because all I'm doing is just wearing my blades out. But I just need to take off enough and just put an edge back on. So I now need to double check. If you remember, it was cutting beautifully in the centre, which it still is, and then it's cutting at that side now much more cleanly than it was. And then if you remember this side, it wasn't cutting at all, but is now cutting really nicely. So I haven't got a lot of contact on that cylinder, so it's going to be nice and quiet again. And something that you tend to do as the blades get more blunt is you tend to adjust the cylinder to the bottom blade. That causes a lot more noise, more strain on either the engine or the battery system that's driving it. So it's really good to keep these cylinders blades nice and sharp, cutting the grass nice and cleanly, and the grass won't bleed as much. So it will be much more healthy as well. So there I am. I can put this back in the cylinder mower again and get mowing. So you can put a nice sharp edge back on with backlapping. You probably won't be able to correct a stone damage in the machine, but you know, sometimes it's worth giving it a try. But if it is really serious, you will need to take this to your Allett mower dealer, who will need to do a much more serious regrind and maybe even replace the bottom blade for you. And that's something you would do after probably several seasons, depending on how much grass you're cutting. You need to go and have a proper regrind and put the cylinder and the bottom blade cutting surfaces right. So I hope that's been helpful. I'm going to go and get mowing the lawn now with my nice sharp cylinder, and I hope that's been helpful. You can always find more information on our website at www.allett.co.uk. Thanks for watching.